Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome back. So, we are now starting a new chapter. So, in terms of your combined volume of your book, it is I think chapter number 23. The National Income Accounting is chapter number 22, and this chapter which we are now starting afresh, this is I think chapter number 23. The title of this chapter is I think measuring cost of living, something like that. Okay. Exact title I can't remember. Anyway, so what is the target of this chapter? Here we are trying to capture how the cost of living is changing over time or over geographical location, like that. So, objective is to capture the relative position of overall price level. Cost of living means what, right? Say suppose I have a family, right? So, I have to maintain that family today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow also, right? And since price level may not be fixed means what? Whatever the price level I am facing today, it may not be tomorrow the same price level. Tomorrow maybe certain commodities will be expensive, little bit more expensive, right? So, since price level may change from one period to another, perhaps say one particular month or whatever amount of rice, whatever amount of bread, whatever amount of milk, that actual quantity of rice, quantity of bread, quantity of milk, quantity of cloth, different goods and services what we are consuming, their quantities are not changing at all. See, today I am say as an individual or my family perhaps per week say 5 kg of rice we are consuming. The same family after 1 year also perhaps roughly that 5 kg of rice will consume, unless the rice price becomes very high relative to say bread price, and we are largely shifting our consumption habit from rice based product to the bread only, okay, then it may change. Otherwise usually, okay, our quantities of different food items, different clothing items and so on will roughly remain fixed, roughly. Some here and there little bit changes, it happens, okay. But you will see that if I see that what is the monthly expenditure of my family today, and maybe after 1 month, you will see that monthly expenditure has increased. That means what? Same amount of goods and services we are consuming only, but we have to spend more money from our pocket. My salary is not changing from this month to that month, it changes say once in 10 years or something like that. Okay. So, as if my cost of living has increased, right? If say total consumption expenditure this month for my family is 10,000 rupees and next month it is 15,000 rupees, that means what? So, my cost of living of my family has expanded 50%, right? 10,000 to 15,000 rupees, right? So, how we can capture that cost of living, okay, that is the target of this chapter, and that is why title is measuring the cost of living, okay. Now, so giving the example to make you understand by cost of living what I am referring, perhaps you got a sense that by this we are trying to capture how much price level has changes from one period to another, or from relative position of the price levels in 2 different time points, maybe 2 different geographical location and so on. Okay, because roughly same amount of quantity basket we are purchasing, that 5 kg rice per week, that maybe 5 pounds of bread per week, maybe 3 liter of milk per week, something like that. Those we are roughly maintaining the same, but total expenditure amount of money has expanded. So, how that can happen? Because price level has increased, overall price level, rice price has increased, or all the food stuffs, all the cloth stuffs may be increased, or maybe one commodity's price falls and all others are increasing, like that. But on an average or on a totality, for the major commodities that price level has increased only, okay. So, in that way, that is why its implication is the total amount of money that is I have to spend, which is going from my pocket to maintain my family, that has expanded, right. So, to measuring cost of living or target of this cost of living measurement is to capture how much overall price level is changing. Now, suppose the question is, suppose today's my family's expenditure is 10,000 rupees, tomorrow my family's expenditure is 15,000 rupees. So, this 10,000 to 15,000, this monetary value, right, how it can change? It has, because that expenditure we are reaching how much rice we are purchasing into per unit of rice, what is the price, plus how much bread we are purchasing into what is the price of per unit of bread, and so on for all other commodities and services, right. So, if total monetary value in this way aggregate, okay, if that is changing from one period to another, definitely that change involves of two different aspects, either quantities or price or both, their combination is reflected in this change in the total expenditure, right. Now, if our target is to capture only the change in price, ideally what we have to do? We have to keep our consumption basket fixed. Say suppose consumption basket fixed means what we are referring, okay. Consumption basket fixed means whatever quantities of different commodities and services we were consuming last period, same quantities of the each of those same commodities we are consuming also today. Till expenditure was 10,000 to yesterday, today is say 12,000. Then I can tell this increment is only due to change in price and not in the quantity, because entire quantity basket remains same 5 kg of rice, same 5 pounds of bread, same 3 liters of milk and so on, okay. So, I am keeping my consumption basket intact, same basket. So, I am questioning myself like this, I was purchasing in yesterday some basket, some commodities or some quantities of different commodities at yesterday's price, market price. If same basket, what was I was consuming or my family was consuming, same quantity basket, if I want to purchase from today's market, what would be my expenditure? If that expenditure changes, say yesterday whatever expenditure, today's expenditure is different, this difference is only because of change in price, okay. Whether all the stuff's price has changed or maybe two prices remain intact and other prices change, that is a different question, but that is because of only change in price, that is for sure, right. So, that is why when we are constructing or formulating any index number, consumer price index, producer price index, like GDP deflator also another kind of price index, right. So, we have to fix the consumption basket, associated consumption basket or associated production basket, associated quantity basket in general intact, fixed, okay. So, and that is why this consumer price index, CPI, consumer price index, right. This consumer price index, you will see that in India, okay, consumer price index, say I think Ministry of Labour or Ministry of Agriculture or Labour or something, some central government ministry, who are responsible to release this consumer price index. Look, sometimes back when GDP calculation, national income accounting we are discussing, that we told that MOSPI's website, right, CSO, Central Statistical Office, NSSO, those kinds of organizations name we told that day in the MOSPI's website, under the MOSPI's website those links are there. Even MOSPI's website, if you look at their CPI, consumer price index is there. All these different consumer price index, producers price index, GDP, all those things, different kinds of macroeconomics data are also available in Reserve Bank of India's website. If you look at that, does not mean that Reserve Bank of India is the responsible authority to release those data. Reserve Bank of India is collecting those data from the respective releasing authority, okay, official authority, and producing them under the same umbrella, under the same Reserve Bank India website, So that researcher like me, you, it will be easy for us to visit one website to collect whole lot of different types of data what I need. Okay. But that does not mean wherever the data is available, that does not mean that that is the responsible organization to release the data in India. So, in that way CPI also, CPI consumer price index information, you will see that under the MOSPI's website, right, it is also available. But say consumer price index, it is given by a table, okay, and the bottom of that table you will see these in figures are collected from so and so and so, like that it is written. That so and so organization, those are basically the responsible organization, officially empowered organization or officially responsible organization who is supposed to release this CPI accounting and all those things. So, consumer price index they are releasing. So, consumer price index in India, if you see, it is for different important cities of India, it is available. So, consumer price index for Bhopal, consumer price index for Chennai, consumer price index for Delhi, consumer price index for say Bhubaneswar, Visakhapatnam, like that important cities, not necessarily always the capital city of different states. Of course, capital cities are there, beyond that some other cities also are there. Okay. So, consumer price index for different cities is also available there. Not only that, three categories are there. I am coming to those categories. Okay. So, when I am comparing say consumer price index for a particular, say these three categories are basically AL, UNME and IW, three categories. So, three categories. AL is basically agricultural laborers. AL full form is agricultural laborers. So, mostly labor force or working class who live in rural areas, that is why agricultural laborers, agricultural activity mostly it is rural centric, no, that is why I am telling. Okay. IW is industrial workers, IW, industrial workers. Industrial workers means it is mostly that working class people, but who mostly live in urban areas, urban or suburban areas, right, because industrial workers, right, and industries in India mostly confined in the urban areas, right. UNME's full form is urban non-manual employees, urban non-manual employees. Urban means usually urban area, non-manual employees, those workers, those employees who are mostly doing job, okay, or engaged in production activities using their non-manual labor power, okay, like me, I am a professional, I am a teacher, okay, I am teaching in a government institute. Doctor, okay, one doctor he is doing some services, okay, and he is attached with a hospital, right. So, like that these people are mostly whatever they are, whatever job they are doing, right, or what kind of production activity they are participating in, those production activities mostly not very manual labor dependent kind of thing, rather more depends on human or psychological labor, like that. Okay. So, that is why that is another group, it is called urban non-manual employees. So, that group that urban areas people who are the mostly professionals, they belong to this group. So, why these three groups? When we told that consumer price index or whatever price index we are calculating, we have to make that commodity basket first fixed, that is why. So, usually on an average agricultural laborers, certain commodities are there in their commodity consumption basket. Urban non-manual employees, they have also certain commodities are there in their consumption basket. Industrial workers, they have certain commodities are there in their consumption basket. When I am telling this, it is not necessarily that agricultural laborers consumption basket and UNME consumption basket are completely distinct. Maybe few elements are common in both, few elements are not common in both. Okay. So, some common, some non-common may be there, like say agricultural laborers and industrial workers, both are the working class people, Okay, you can see that agricultural laborers, working class who live in the rural areas mostly, say newspaper, one essential item which may not be or which is not very frequently visible, that in any rural agricultural laborer household, newspaper is a daily consumption commodity, okay, item, right. But industrial workers, you go, who works in industry, no, some newspaper, maybe different types of newspapers are available, no, this company's newspaper, say Hindu, Times of India, Hindustan Times, so many different varieties of newspaper are there, right. Some local newspapers are also there, no, different states, their vernacular, whatever the language, right. Say in Tamil Nadu, in Tamil language, so many different newspapers are there. In say Andhra, in Telugu language, so many, like that. In respective states, whatever their native language, in those regional language, so many newspapers are there. So you will see that industrial workers group, right. If you randomly choose one industrial worker family, you will see that perhaps newspaper is an essential consumption item in their daily consumption basket. Okay. But rice, perhaps this group, that group, even this group also, everybody's consumption basket, rice is an essential commodity. So, I am telling that in these classes, when we are grouping them separately, different groups, say AL, UNME, IW, like that, that group is basically on the basis of, on an average, what are the, or on a totality, what are the consumption items, elements, okay, within that group's consumption basket, okay, representative agricultural laborer household, what are the elements in its consumption basket, like that, okay. So, since we have to fix the basket, that is why on the basis of that basket, we are clubbing in India, mostly clubbing in the 3 different categories. Now, suppose agricultural laborers, okay, or say UNME group, for UNME group, consumer price index in Bhopal and UNME group consumer price index in say Chennai may be different, right. Same year, this 2021, say October, this particular month, today is November, last month 2021, Bhopal, say whatever the consumer price index of this UNME group, Chennai maybe it is different, right. Delhi may be little bit different from both Bhopal, both Chennai, okay. So, this consumer price index is telling that how overall price level for that particular group, UNME group, is different across different geographical location of the same country, okay. So, this measuring cost of living through say consumer price index or some sort of that kind of price index, when we are telling, mostly it is to capture the price level or relative position of the price level over time, one period to another. But that is not always the case, it may be over different spatial kind of thing, different space, different geographical location kind of thing also. What is the relative cost of living in Chennai vis-a-vis say Thiruvananthapuram, like that, okay. So, that is also things. Now, since to capture consumer price index, you have to fix the basket. So, what is the target? Target is basically, so certain popular consumer price index are there, say Laspeyres price index, PEYRES, Laspeyres price index. This is one consumer price index. Another called PASCHE, PAASCHE, PASCHE price index, okay. So, these price index are consumer price index, and what is this Laspeyres and PASCHE, two German statisticians, okay, and they give these two formulas, okay. Laspeyres PASCHE index, if I write, you can understand what is the meaning of that. Laspeyres price index is basically sigma P1I Q0I by sigma P0I Q0I into 100. This sigma over I running from 1 to n, I running from 1 to n. What is n? N is the number of commodities in the basket, consumption basket. Suppose this is my consumption basket, there n different commodities are there, that is flagged by I. When I equals to 1, say rice, when I equals to 2, maybe bread, when I equals to 3, maybe milk, when I equals to 4, maybe petrol, when I equals to 5, maybe say cloth, like that, okay. This sigma notation, being an engineering student, I am sure that it is quite you people all are familiar with this notation. It is basically sum of. So, if you do P1, I mean P1 is basically the current period and P0 is basically the base period in that way. See, exactly the same way Q1 is the quantity of the current period, Q0 is the quantity of the base period. Base period means suppose consumer price index we are considering or calculating. So, price index relative to what base, okay, say maybe 2015 is the base period, okay. So, if I calculate that, so it is basically, so n different commodities are there. So, numerator is basically P11 Q01 plus P12 Q02. Look at here 1 this second one, this first one is representing current period, second one is representing that first commodity within the consumption basket. Here P1 means current period second commodity. In that way P1n Q0n. If you expand the numerator thing, denominator thing if you expand, what it will be? It will be basically P01 Q01 when I taking value 1, P02 Q02 when I taking value 2 and so on, P0n Q0n when I taking value n different commodities are there. So, in the numerator is what? Numerator is basically or let me tell first denominator is. Denominator is basically whatever consumption basket or whatever quantity of different commodities or different elements in my consumption basket, whatever quantities I was consuming in the last period or base period, that is Q01 is the quantity of the first commodity, Q02 is the quantity of the second commodity and so on, Q0 in the nth commodities quantity, right, and P01 is the price of that commodity, P02 is the price of that commodity and what are, at which time period price? 0th period or base period price. 2015 is our base year. So, what was the market price in 2015? That price we are considering. Now, P1 say one current period is suppose 2020. So, what is the numerator? So, denominator is basically the expenditure of my entire consumption basket at the 2015 base period. What is the numerator? Look, the quantities remaining the same, each of the different commodities, quantities here Q02, Q02, Q01, Q01, Q0 and Q0. So, respective quantities are same. That means, I am keeping my consumption basket intact with the same quantities also of different commodities or different elements of the consumption basket, right. So, numerator is telling that same consumption basket, if I want to purchase today 2020, what could be my expenditure, right. Look, P1n means what? Today's price, nth commodities market price what is there in today, but at that price if I want to consume or purchase that nth quantities commodities last period or 2015 how much I was consuming, say 5 kg I was consuming, that 5 kg is Q0n. So, the question is denominator is basically actual consumption expenditure, total monetary value of the consumption basket in 2015 or what is our base period, and same basket if we want to purchase from today's market, what could be my expenditure, that is the numerator, and that ratio is basically the ratio of to expenditure. But since I am keeping the quantity basket intact, that means if this ratio becomes greater than 1 or when this into 100 to make this in percentage form, if I make into 100, then if this is greater than 100, that I can tell that overall cost of living has expanded, because last year's expenditure what was, today's expenditure over the last year, that ratio is more than 1 or more than 100%. That means my consumption basket's expenditure what was, I was to say yesterday's or 2015 base period consumption basket expenditure was at the base period price, expenditure was say 10,000 rupees. Today's expenditure, the same basket if I could try to purchase from today's market price, it is 15,000. So, I can tell this expansion of that, or that more amount of money I have to spend against my consumption, that is because only to change in price, because consumption basket I am keeping intact, right. So, this kind of so when we are constructing or formulating or giving a formula for a price index, this is called Laspierre's price index, this formula. Okay. So, exactly same way Passy also give another formula. What is that? Passy is telling that Passy price index is basically numerator sigma P1i Q1i by sigma P0i Q1i, I running from as usual 1 to n, I running from as usual 1 to n. So, you can understand now in the Passy's price index, numerator is a real expenditure, it is also a ratio of two expenditures. Numerator is the real expenditure. What? P1i means period or current period, whose price index you want to calculate, and P0i base period relative to which price today's price index you are going to calculate. Okay. That base period price is P0i. Okay. So, Passy is telling that you take the quantity basket of today. See, when price level is changing from yesterday to today or base period to current period, right, we are also adjusting our consumption a little bit. Okay. When if all other things unchanged, right, if rice price increases very high, perhaps I will cut down the rice quantity consumption and I will try to substitute that by say maybe more bread and more other foodstuffs, because vis-a-vis I am relative to under the ceteris paribus condition rice price increases. That means ceteris paribus condition means what? When rice price is increasing, bread price is not increasing. In that way, even if rice price also increasing, bread price also increasing, but bread price is increasing, rice price becomes double, but bread price did not increase double, maybe 20% increase. So, I will try to relatively perhaps consume more bread, okay, and less rice, because rice becomes relatively more expensive. Okay. In that way we used to adjust. Now, the question is, when we are reaching to the consumer price index by the ratio of two expenditure, so to reach that expenditure, which period consumption basket I should consider? That is the question. Laspierre is telling you consider the base period consumption basket, Passy is telling you consider the current period consumption basket. Okay. So, that is why Passy's formula current year's consumption basket quantity is there. Laspierre's formula look at base period consumption basket was there Q0i, 0 is symbolic presentation of the base period and 1 is the symbolic presentation of the current period, as we already clarified. So, that is why. Okay. So, in this case you can tell Passy's price index numerator is a real expenditure. What is the actual expenditure of my consumption basket today? Then here what is the denominator? Denominator is whatever my actual consumption basket with their respective quantities of each of the consumption element or consumable elements in my basket, keeping their quantities also intact. Same basket, if we want to purchase, or I could purchase same basket at the last period or base period price, what could be the total expenditure? So, this Laspierre's price index numerator was an hypothetical expenditure, that expenditure is not observed in real life, because when price is changing, quantity also is changing, but Laspierre's index, when you are reaching quantity, you are using the numerator quantity is the base period quantity for the numerator, denominator base period quantity as well as base period price, and here current period price but base period quantity. So, Laspierre's price index numerator is an hypothetical expenditure, base period basket if I could want to purchase today from today's market, what could be the case, right? This was a real expenditure. Alternatively, Passy's case, this is an hypothetical expenditure, denominator is an hypothetical expenditure, numerator is a real expenditure. Today's consumption basket, when I am purchasing from today's market price, what is the total expenditure? Here today's consumption basket, if I could try to purchase that in my base period price level from the market, what could be my expenditure? That ratio. whatever now to summarize, whatever the last pair on passes, since one case we are considering the last period or base period consumption basket, another case you are considering current period consumption basket, but in the ratio of both numerator and denominator same consumption basket you are keeping, right. That means that expenditure share what is it is capturing, it is because of only price change, because quantities you are keeping intact. Okay. So, that is why that is called cost of living index. Okay, through this last year's price index, passes price index, the book we are following there, this last year's terminology, passes terminology, these are not there, this formula is not there, but this formula's counterpart is there. It is mentioned in the book that you have to keep the basket intact, and then you evaluate the valuation of that basket or total expenditure behind that basket at two different price level. Okay. So, basic message is there in the what is the formula is there in your book, but it is not telling that which formula is there in your book, but we are introducing in this context. One is called last year's price index, another is called passes price index. Both are important, both are relevant, you can consider any of them. Okay. But you have to understand what is the logic, and if you do say last year's price index, if we twist a bit, let me complete, then your quickly complete this, your understanding will be fine tuned. Actually, see, suppose if in my consumption basket only one commodity is there, so simply today's price and tomorrow's price, that ratio if I take, that is enough, that is a price index. If this ratio is more than 1, I can tell that today's price has expanded, less than 1, today's price falls, in that way I can tell. But the question is, when the multiple, not one commodity, more commodities are there, multiple amount of commodities are there in my basket, my target is to capture overall price level how change. Overall means entire consumption basket's price level how change from one period to another, how I will calculate. So, I have to, so if I in my commodity basket two commodities are there, for one commodity this is the case price ratio, another commodity is P12 by P02, that is the price ratio. This is the price ratio or relative price of food, this is the relative price of the cloth, and this food and cloth two commodities are there in my basket. So, if I want to capture the overall price level for the entire basket from yesterday to today or base period to current period, I have to take some sort of average of these two price levels, price relatives, right. How that level, last year's price index, if we, it is basically by formula P1I Q0I by sigma P0I Q0I that we have introduced in the earlier slide, I running from 1 to n, I running from 1 to n, we can show that this is basically sigma I running from 1 to n P1I by P0I into P0I Q0I by sigma P0I Q0I, I running from 1 to n. So, this is what, this is basically this price relatives counterpart, and you are taking sigma of all those price relatives. So, when I am telling that we are basically this last year's price index can alternatively shown as this, it is very easy, you can manipulate on your own, you can do that, you just break this thing na, you will understand that we are landing here. Although when we are introducing the price index as if it is a ratio of two expenditure, but actually fundamental is this, fundamental is this, let me erase this right side. Okay. Since multiple commodities are there, each of those items has different price relatives, today's price over the base period price, so different price relatives. So, overall baskets how much price has expanded, to capture that we have to take some sort of average of those relatives. Okay. That actually we are taking in the last year's price index. Similarly, passes price index also we can show exactly. It is an weighted arithmetic mean. Weighted arithmetic mean, the formula you can see it clearly, it is an weighted arithmetic mean. But what is the weight? Ith commodities price relative weighted arithmetic mean of what? Of price relatives. Ith commodities price relative is given weight with the share of the ith commodity in the consumption basket, because P0i Q0i is what? Ith commodity is how much total expenditure, and sigma P0i Q0i is what? The int over I, when you are taking sigma over I, entire consumption basket expenditure. So, suppose when I equals to 1, that is food. So, this is your total consumption expenditure over only food. Similarly, when I equals to 2, that is suppose clothes, its counterpart total expenditure for cloth only, and denominator is basically food's total expenditure plus clothes total expenditure plus petrol's total expenditure all together. So, this ratio I can tell that share of expenditure of a particular commodity. So, ith commodity's price relative is weighted by ith commodity's expenditure share in the base period consumption basket. So, in that way last year's price index can be shown that weighted arithmetic mean of price relatives, ith commodity's price relative is weighted by ith commodity's expenditure share in the entire consumption basket of the base period when you are showing last year's price index. Exactly that way passive price index also we can show, but their weight will not be this kind of real weight, it will be hypothetical weight, but you can easily show that. But that is not our target. Our target is that what actually this price index is capturing. Price index is capturing overall price level, how changes from one period to another. When we are introducing as if the formula is telling that as if it is a ratio of to expenditure, it is not, it is looking like a ratio of to expenditure, but actually in the background this kind of philosophical thing is there. Multiple commodities are there, multiple elements are there. So, you are taking the price relatives, multiple price relatives you have. So, you are taking weighted arithmetic average of all those price relatives to reach the overall increment or change of the price of the entire basket, not a single commodity, entire basket, how much price changing from one period to another. Okay. With this, let us stop here and we finish this chapter called measuring cost of living. The next class we will start another new fresh chapter. Okay. Let us stop here.